Hello, my name is Lewis and welcome to Gathering the Magic. Today we're looking at the $60 deck tech that myself and Meme Master Steve created for Tiamat. From the upcoming D&D Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set, Tiamat is a 7/7 flying dragon god that when she ETBs, if you cast her, you can search your library for 5 dragon cards with different names, reveal them and put them into your hand. Now, let's delve right into this deck tech. As always, starting off with a ramp, we have those rampy creatures in Beastcaller Savant and Draconic Disciple. Beastcaller is a 1/1 that you can add to tap a mana of any colour to help cast out those dragons, and Draconic Disciple is a human shaman who can tap for 1 mana of any colour or pay 7 and sack to create your very own 5/5 dragon. We also have Faeburrow Elder and Elysian Carotid. Faeburrow is a 0/0 vigilant creature who gets +1/+1 for each colour among permanents you control, and you can tap to add a mana for each colour among permanents you control. And Elysian Carotid is that staple green rampy creature that will allow you to add 1 or 2 mana, strong creature dependent. We then have all of those ramp staples with Cultivate and Farseek. We also have Kadama's Reach and Rampant Growth. You really want to ramp your ass off here because those dragons are going to be costly to get out onto the battlefield. We also have Growth Spiral, which allows us to draw a card and put an extra land onto the battlefield. Growth Spiral still gives me Uro in Standard PTSD. More classic rampy rocks here with Arcane Signet and Soul Ring. Next we have another staple in Commander Sphere and Dark Steel Ingot, which is an indestructible artifact that you can tap to add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Next up we have Firemind Vessel and Mana Geode. Firemind Vessel is an artifact that enters tapped but allows you to tap later on 2 mana of different colours, and Mana Geode allows you to scry and again tap mana for any colour. We also have Manalith and Replicating Ring. Again, Manalith will allow you to tap a mana of any colour, and Rep Ring allows you to tap a mana of any colour and later make even more rings to tap for even more mana. Coming on to the last few now, we have some card draw options with Colossal Majesty and Garruk's Uprising. And especially with that Garruk's Uprising in play, you bet all those dragons will be getting that trample. Lastly, we have Tiamat Ascendancy that will give all of those dragons haste, and whenever those strong creatures with powerful or higher hit the field, you draw a card. Before we look at those big strong dragons, make sure to smash the like button and of course subscribe for all things MTG, including that sexy prickly marmoset tattoo I've stupidly promised if we hit 1,000 subs before August. Next we'll be looking at all those dragons, and to start with, let's look at some of those dragons you may want to tutor for with Tiamat's ability. First off we have Amareth the Lustrous and Darigar's Reincarnated. Amareth is a 6/6 flyer that whenever another permanent ETBs under your control, you can look at the top card of your library, and if it shares a card type with that permanent, you may put it straight into your hand. And Darigaz is a 7/7 flying trample hasty boy that says if he would die, exile and put 3 egg counters on it. Each upkeep you remove an egg, and when all those eggs are cracked, you put Darigaz back on the battlefield, and that is spicy. Next we have Deathbringer Regent and Dragon Broodmother. Deathbringer is a flying dragon that when it ETBs, it gives you that chance of being a big old board wipe, and Dragon Broodmother is a 4/4 flyer that at the beginning of each upkeep, yes each, you create a 1/1 Gruul dragon with Devour 2 into play. And that Devour mechanic can get you a super thick dragon in no time at all. Speaking of thick dragons, we also have Intet the Dreamer and Lathlis Dragon Queen. Intet is a 6/6 dragon that when it deals combat damage, it gives you the option to remove a card off the top of your library and then play it for free. And Lathlis is a 6/6 flying dragon that allows you to create even more dragons every time you cast a non-token dragon. That ability is absolutely crazy. And lastly on the big dragon list we have Savage Ventmaw and Siege Dragon. Ventmaw is a 4/4 flyer that when attacks it gives you 3 red and green mana that doesn't disappear through different phases of play, and Siege Dragon is a 5/5 flyer that destroys all opponents' walls, and when it attacks, if that defending player has no walls, it deals 2 damage to each creature that player controls without flying. Now that we've seen the big dragons, let's look at some of the smaller dragons and dragon loving cards. First up is Bloodline Pretender and Dragonkin Berserker. Bloodline is a shape-shifting dragon that will beef up every time you play a dragon, and Dragonkin Berserker is a 2/2 human berserker that will allow you to boast and create some 5/5 dragons. Next up we have Dragonlord Servant and Dragonmaster Outcast. Dragonlord Servant is a goblin shaman that reduces the cost of dragon spells by 1, and Dragonmaster Outcast allows you to create a 5/5 dragon on your upkeep if you control 6 or more lands. For a 1-drop red, that is huge. We also have Dragon Speaker Shaman and Dramoka the Eternal. Dragon Speaker is a 2/2 barbarian that will cheapen those dragon spells by 2, and Dramoka is a 5/5 dragon that comes with that big bolstering booster too. Next we have Immerstern Predator that can not only become an indestructible dragon, but it also has, when it becomes tapped, you have that chance to get those +1/+1 counters on it. And for a bit of fun, we thought we'd add Jank Legend Joda into the mix to have that option to pay Werburg for spells instead. Next we have a Masked Vandal and Rapacious Dragon. Masked Vandal is a changeling that when it ETBs, you can exile a creature from your graveyard and in response exile an opponent's enchantment or artifact. And Rapacious Dragon is a 3/3 flyer that creates 2 treasure tokens, which can be huge if you need some extra mana. We also have Sunscorch Regent and Sylvia Brightspear. Sunscorch is a 4/3 dragon that says whenever an opponent casts a spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on Sunscorch and gain a life. And Sylvia is a 2/2 knight with double strike that also gives the rest of your dragons double strike. And for the lone planeswalker in this deck, we have Sarkhan the Masterless that says whenever an opponent attacks you or Sarkhan, each dragon you control deals 1 damage to that creature. Sarkhan also allows you to turn it into a 4/4 dragon and allows you to create a 4/4 dragon token. Onto the dragon loving instants and sorceries, we have Fearsome Awakening and Haunting Voyage. Fearsome Awakening allows you to return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and if it's a dragon, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. And Haunting Voyage allows you to return 2 dragons from the graveyard to the battlefield with that cheeky new Foretell mechanic from Kaldheim. We also have Sarkhan's Triumph and Spitflame. Sarkhan's Triumph is an instant that allows you to tutor for a dragon, and Spitflame deals 4 damage to a target creature, but also when a dragon ETBs, you can pay a mountain and return Spitflame from the graveyard to your hand. That is some scary cheap recursion. Next we have Dragon Arch and Pillar of Origins. Dragon Arch allows you to cheaply put a multicoloured creature from your hand into play, and Pillar of Origins gives you that mana to spend on dragon creatures. On to the last few dragon loving cards, we have Crucible of Fire and Frontier Sage. Crucible gives your dragons +3/+3, and Frontier Sage allows you to choose dragons and have those dragons fight creatures when they hit the field. Lastly, we have Dragon Tempest and Reflections of Littjara. Dragon Tempest gives all those flyers haste and allows your dragons to deal damage to a creature or player depending on how many dragons you have. And we have Reflections of Littjara, which allows you to create double the amount of dragons. God, I love that card. For the last section before we go on to the lands, we're talking removal and the rest. First up is Crux of Fate and Draconic Intervention. Crux of Fate is massive in that it's a potential one-sided board wipe, and there is Draconic Intervention that makes you exile an instant or sorcery and deals X damage where X is that exiled card's mana value. We also have Earthquake and Draconic Roar. Earthquake is an X spell that deals X damage to each non-flyer and each player. Again, another potential one-sided board wipe. And we have Draconic Roar, which deals 3 damage to each player, and if you reveal a dragon, it also deals 3 damage to that creature's controller. Next up we have 2 classic cheap removals in Mortify and Putrefy, and we also have Terminate and Negate for more removal and spell countering. Mortify, Putrefy, Terminate, Negate. I felt like I was doing the poker rap then. And for the rest, we have Bower Passage and Dragon Breath. Bower Passage is an enchantment that says creatures with flying can't block creatures you control, and Dragon Breath, which is an enchantment that gives creatures haste, and when you play a creature with 6 CMC or greater, you can return Dragon Breath to the field and attach it to that creature. That is just ridiculous. Lastly, moving on to the lands, we have a hot variety here. Starting off with the basics, we have 3 plains, 3 islands and 3 swamp. But we also have 5 forest and 6 mountain, as we play a little bit more green-red than the rest in this deck. We have those staples in Command Tower and Exotic Orchard to fix that mana, and we have Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse, because if they aren't in a commander deck, I think legally that is breaking the law. For the next section, we are thriving. We're throwing in all those thriving lands from Jumpstart because they are absolutely perfect, again, for fixing that mana, especially in the early game. Plus, they're cheap to buy too, which is a bonus. Onto the tricoloured land fixers now, we have Crumbling Necropolis and Frontier Bivouac. We also have Jungle Shrine and Savage Lands to throw in the mix too. We've also thrown in a Temple of the False Gods because, hello 2 mana, and Rupture Spire again to help fix that mana. Lastly, for the lands, we have Haven of the Spirit Dragon and Path of Ancestry. Haven gives you a colourless mana, a mana of any colour to cast a dragon creature, or you can pay 2 and sack it to return a dragon from your graveyard to your hand. And we have Path of Ancestry to add a mana of any colour and give you that constant option to scry. Tiamat, you're a hell of a 5-colour commander, and I genuinely can't wait to make a deck around you once D&D AFR drops in a few months' time. There we have it, that is the deck tech. Don't forget to smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe to show your love for all things Magic the Gathering. Check out our link tree in the description for our social media and affiliate links. For now though, I'm all dragoned out, so I'll see you in the next video.